to Leaders of Tomorrow 18 Hour special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. On the show today, on our Insights segment, we get you a conversation with Bengaluru-based Ather Energy, and on Bright Sparks tonight, we're featuring Mob Mary as well as Angle Pesa. That's what we have in store for you tonight then. Let's start off right away with our Insight conversation. Now, for the first time here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, we are featuring an automobile manufacturing startup, Bengaluru-based Ather Energy, which has just come up with its first product. An electric scooter packed with innovative technology is hoping to shake up the market. I caught up with the company earlier for a chat on manufacturing in India, what the electric scooter market is looking like, as well as expansion plans going forward. Take a listen. I want to kick this conversation off by asking you, at a time when most entrepreneurs and startups do not look beyond the e-commerce space, what led you to setting up this company?
We did not start Ather because, we were just looking at starting up and hence we went out and looked at opportunities where we could do something. It was the other way around. We always believed that the purest reason to start up is because you have found an opportunity and you're so consumed by it that you cannot not work on it. We just could not believe that more companies were not building high quality electric vehicles in the country. More companies were not building the fundamental technology and the product fundamentals for something like this. Honestly, if anybody else was doing this, we would have even gone out and joined them if they were doing a good job at it.
Give us really, what the idea has been behind the name of the brand.
Ather is a Greek word. It stands for the purest form of air. And me and my co-founder Swapnil, we've been calling ourselves Ather Energy since back in our second year at college. What we meant was, just like Ather means the purest form of air, Ather Energy means the purest form of energy. And that's how the name came into existence. Later on, when we decided that we want to work on electric vehicles, we sort of stuck on to the name because we are still fundamentally in the energy industry.
Talk to us about how large the market in India, Tarun, is as far as, electric scooters in particular, and then the broader market as far as electric vehicles is concerned.
I think both markets are we are on the best places right now from a historical perspective for both of these markets. If you look at electric vehicles in particular, however, that's an even bigger opportunity, right? Because starting from such a low base. So we are at this point of time in history when the cost of ownership, in fact, the cost of acquisition of an electric vehicle is falling down rapidly. Whether it's the battery prices, cost of electronics, everything is coming down. So there are a lot of things in favor for electric vehicles. We see us evolving to a point where 5 years from now, it just would not make any economical sense to buy anything except an electric vehicle. And that's what we're preparing ourselves for, a 100% electric future.
That's a big vision to have, Tarun. But, I want to talk about really whether there's sufficient awareness right now that exists in India about the benefits of using, electric vehicles. The government on its part is trying to push clean energy, is trying to push solar energy. You have some of your bigger companies like Mahindra, for example, that are also looking very closely at the electric vehicle space. Europe, I know, is a big market, and even as Bajaj Auto has for several years now been fighting this war in terms of, electric vehicles and alternative vehicles in India, is there sufficient awareness, or have you had to also fight that battle?
See, while it always helps if the end consumer is far more aware about the environmental impact, and if they consciously make a choice towards a cleaner or green vehicle, I think the real thing that turns around a market is a very selfish reason, right? Does the product on a standalone basis make sense for you as an individual? And sure, the product might make sense for the entire society as a whole, but when you look at when your own purchase decision, would you still buy this vehicle? And hence I think an electric vehicle has got to be the best vehicle out there and not just a good enough electric alternative.
Let's talk about your funding journey so far. I noticed that, while initial funding wasn't so much of a challenge, it was the second round of funding, the later on funding, which was really, something that you had to struggle with quite a bit. Just run us through that.
I think the first round was not a big challenge purely because we are raising a much smaller amount. We raised barely for less than 50 lakhs for an entire year's worth of usage. The second round became a much harder task purely because of the quantum involved, And investors in India, whether angel or institutional, are just not used to investing in a hardware company, especially in automobile electric company. Even worldwide, there are not a lot of players who invest. There are not a lot of institutional guys, VCs, or even super angels who invest significant amount of capital in an automobile or an electric vehicle company. So that always has been an uphill battle for us. How did it pan out? So we reached out to a lot of angels. We reached out to many funds also. Understandably, the funds had a concern because the product wasn't complete. We were clearly not shipping or anytime close to starting sales, and there are a lot of the general thought process with a lot of investors is that manufacturing is a very capital intensive business.
Do you think then it would have been easier for you if you had been in the, the retail or the e-commerce space, Tarun? And what advice would you have for your fellow entrepreneurs who are in the manufacturing space about how to go about raising the kind of funds they need for their business expansion?
Right. I don't think honestly it would be far more easier even if you're an e-commerce company, or whether you're a food delivery company, or whether we were any other app sort of startup. Honestly, every entrepreneur I think faces an equally hard task in raising capital. You could be lucky, you could be in a great positive euphoric environment, but outside of that, raising capital of any quantum is always hard. What advice I would have for manufacturing companies or hardware companies? I would say the one big trump card that hardware companies have that many other startups don't is that your product is actually tangible, right? You could actually walk into we can actually walk into a meeting with our product along with us and show it to an investor or show it to an advisor to touch, feel, and give immediate feedback on. I think the impact of a tangible product is super underrated. No amount of presentation, no amount of screen mock-ups can sort of compete with a tangible physical product. So I think that's a big trump card that we have, and I think we must play that more. I think all of us are usually we don't use a prototype enough. I think we must plan our journey, the entire company's journey, into several prototyping milestones. Even though that may not seem the most optimum route to develop the company or develop the product, it is just better for everybody, whether it is from investment perspective, whether it is from a team building perspective, whether it is from a morale perspective, to just plan out a lot of milestones around hard, physical, tangible prototypes. You do that whether you're raising funding or you're hiring your next VP of engineering. Your job becomes so much simpler. We have consistently seen it. The minute a new prototype rolls out, interest from all quarters, whether we are hiring, whether we are getting a new investor, or we are talking to the press, everything suddenly shoots up, right? Because that's the impact of a tangible product. So I think we must play more on that.
I'd like to understand from you in terms of manufacturing in India. You're a company that manufactures in India at a time when the government is going all out to woo companies to make in India. My question really is whether government policy, whether government incentives on the ground have been conducive to manufacturing in India as well.
So to be brutally honest, there is nothing that the Make in India initiative today has helped us with. Probably also because it's not probably meant really for startups. I think the Make in India initiative is honestly meant for existing companies more. Also, many schemes are still on paper, they're not yet been implemented. I remain hopeful that in the next year or two, a lot of them will come into effect. But and there have been policies in the electric vehicle space which are definitely positive, but they're very specific to electric vehicles, not necessarily manufacturing in general. You could speak to many hardware companies, and I don't think anybody say that they have actually seen anything change because of the Make in India initiative yet. More than anything, it's been a general cultural change. We see broadly many people getting excited about hardware companies because they see the government talking about making in India, and hence they sort of make a bet that this sector is going to see a lot of push. But in terms of actual push, I think we're still some time away. Also, let's be realistic. Make in India is an extremely complex initiative because you can't have any policy which really helps that in any way immediately. These are all long-term steps, right? You've got to be able to create a very strong local ecosystem of vendors, of contract manufacturers, of prototyping, of raw materials. And these industries are pretty much what the fundamental economy of any country is built around. China is great here, right? Because the entire economy is built around them. So for China to say something like "Make in China" an initiative, it's pretty easy. It's as simple as just rolling out a bunch of space to assembly units. In India, it's far more complex than that. And those complex pieces, whether you have the right talent on engineering or whether design or whether you have the right vendor ecosystem, are some of the most complex challenges to solve. So I think we must just understand that these are changes which will probably take like a decade to really pan out. The good thing is companies which are starting now will probably see some of the most will see the bulk of the advantages during their critical development years, rather than companies will come like a decade later.
Let's take a quick break then. On the other side, we put the spotlight on MobMeri as well as Angle Paisa. To stay tuned. Welcome back. On our Bright Sparks segment tonight, we are featuring two companies, MobMeri as well as Angle Paisa. If predictions come true, Internet of Things is all set to change the way people shop offline. Offline merchants are heavily leveraging from IoT to achieve bigger footfalls in their stores and helping get the best deals. This Bengaluru-based startup Interaction One has launched an app called MobMeri that helps retailers engage more with potential customers and offer the best deals in the nearest stores. Palumi Mukhopadhyay has the story for us.
Internet of Things, the term that is transforming India into a knowledge-based economy with its presence in every sector, be it healthcare, education or retail. Using this technology, Bangalore-based firm Interaction One launched an app that created a platform for retailers to connect with potential customers. With over 10,000 downloads so far, MobMeri app assists consumers to virtually explore their city for customized products and deals in real time. But how does this app gather so much data to personalize preferences for each consumer?
So we are doing curation at two levels. First, we have in-house bloggers who curate the stuff for us from different stores. And then second, we take the social media graph from the social login and we map both of them, and then we give the products to the user.
With the help of these tiny devices called beacons, MobMeri helps connecting retailers with customers to achieve greater footfalls in their brick-and-mortar stores. Using BLE technology, MobMeri allowed merchants to interact with their consumers directly through their app to advertise about products, offers, and send notifications in real time. In the words of its founder Krishna Prasad, MobMeri is targeted to transform the Indian retail market with the use of IoT. So with the kind of data management issues and internet-related problems India is facing currently, don't you think your model is only suitable for a few metros?
We are a startup. We have limited access to resources. We have to run very fast. So obviously, it doesn't make sense for me to try and map an entire country and then say, I'm going to go behind this entire opportunity. For us, the opportunity started with saying, let's take one small area, one small zone. So we actually picked up a pilot area in Indiranagar and we ran a pilot for 3.5 months. We understood what are the challenges. Some of those challenges are related to bandwidth, technology, how many people have their Bluetooths on, a whole lot of other things. So constantly we're looking at what are the segments in here and what can we do to better how our app performs, how our platforms perform with respect to users. Bandwidth or speed is not so much of a concern today because what we're building is building for the future. We're building for smartphones. Fundamentally, when we say we're building for smartphones, you're also talking about consumers who have a decent connectivity and connection on.
So since MobMeri is also tapping into the geotags and the location services from the customer's device, how do you differentiate yourself from nearby?
When we look at our platform, we fundamentally looking at three options that we are going to solve for consumers. One is discovery. today people don't know what is available at a retail store. The second problem is I really don't know what the trends are per se. What is the fashion that is in season? What are the looks that are coming for next season's looks and stuff like that. So from a competition perspective, if you ask us how we very different, I would say that we're actually creating what I call internally as Google Analytics that we apply for websites and other things to small retail stores. We have simple onboarding ad platform that we allow for most of these merchants to create real-time ads on the fly, which go beyond notifications. Notifications are mass, right? We actually dice this to a level that retailer can pick and choose and say, only people who are interested in my brand, only people who are interested in denims, only people within this data range or zone. So we can actually go very, very focused and very, very narrow cast, which fundamentally means that a retailer doesn't need to spend a ton of money advertising to these guys, but actually take very small portions of money and just be very meaningful about the kind of audiences that he or she will reach out to.
Since your model is primarily based on Bluetooth low energy applications, what are the kind of measures are you taking to safeguard the data of the consumers from potential hackers?
So level one, the kind of data that we collect, we're very transparent to the user about what is the data that we collect. We're very transparent about what we do with this data. For us, consumer is paramount, which fundamentally means that we're not sharing any consumer data with any third-party retailers or anyone else for that matter. All that we allow for a retailer is to actually pick and choose a TG, a demographic data, and then reach out to them. We have multi-level engineers who are working on protecting this data. We have strong algorithms that protect it. We follow pretty much some of the most international, theories about how to safeguard this data. These devices are primarily identifiers. They don't store any data. Neither do consumers give any data back to it.
With retail leveraging the power of technology to the fullest, apps like MobMere came as a breath of fresh air for shopaholics who believe in smart discovery of products and are looking to have a higher engagement with their sellers.
We all know what crowdfunding is, but have you ever thought about getting investments for your startup through crowdfunding? Well, there's one Delhi-based fintech company which will get you the seed money that you need to transform your ideas into reality. Vidya Bharti caught up with the founder of Angle Pesa to understand exactly how the model works. Take a listen.
Have you been looking for investing in ideas you believe in, but are hesitant due to the risk involved? Is generating sufficient funds a big hurdle? Not anymore. To provide early stage funding, Delhi-based fintech company Angle Pesa acts as a bridge between startups and investors. It helps startups raise equity investment from their own family, friends, independent investors, and community members.
There's a huge gap in the demand and supply of funds in the Indian market. How does your company Angle Pesa plans to address this issue?
What we are trying to do, connect the common investor into the startup. Suppose you are a salary employee and you are working somewhere and your cushion is 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 per year you can invest into the startup. So right now there is a very few platform they are going to provide any sort of communication, any sort of platform where people like you, the common man, ready to invest 20,000, 50,000 rupees into the startup. There is no platform still in India. So we are trying to bridge this gap and give the platform to investor who is willing to invest for 1 year. So if we connect like that, it's a 20 lakh, 30 lakh people in our platform and they will connect into the market. So you can think what is the volume of the capital going to insert into the economy. So it's a unique model.
So Himanshu, what I've understood so far is that Angle Pesa is a platform for both startups and investors alike. How exactly does this model work?
In Angle Pesa, when anyone going to upload their project and it's live and it's going to be funded. So our process is very clear, very transparent as compared to any other company. What we will do, as per the NSDL, the company who is not registered with the NSDL, they can also trade their share after the permission of the exchange. So first we will open a trading account, and what the valuation is happen, the trader will provide the platform and the investor will transfer the amount to the broker. Any broker who is associated with me, and the broker will transfer the share to the investor account. So our role is only for the services. We are not collecting the money in our account. So our process is very transparent, very genuine. A part of this, we are providing the consulting to startup till he become a break even. The company is not going to be break even. Like mentorship, any EXO, back office support, accounting support, any legal support is required for first 2 years. So we are going to charge very nominal amount to bring their business and start making profit. So our model is little bit different from other companies.
Tell us about the other services Angle Paisa offers its customers.
For our services, we are going to working as a crowdfunding. Another is a company who's running their business and the ROI is good. Still, there is a lots of problem with the bank. So the person or the company is not able to raise the fund. In that case, we are also providing services to raise the capital from our platform. In that case, we are trying to bring our investor as a equity holder in your company, and they are going to give the money to run your business. And third is the buy sale of the company. If the person who is looking to sell and liquidate their company and merger acquisition, so we are going to provide these services also. Because three things: one is a startup, another is running, and third is the sale process. It's a one process. The company going to start, the running their business and sale.
With a team that consists of experts from various fields and a portfolio that boasts more than 70 startups and over 120 investors, the company has managed to carve a niche for itself in the crowdfunding market.
Crowdfunding has a long way to go in India. What was the reaction like towards your company when you started out?
Crowdfunding is one of the biggest area down the line 3 and 4 years in India to raise the fund. If I'm talking about the global scenario, the US and Europe, one of the biggest crowdfunding platform are there. And still in India, there is 3 and 4 companies that are working right now actually on the crowdfunding. And the crowdfunding is a very unique model where you can connect common man into the business, and you can also contribute in the economy. In India right now, it's the youngest youth in the world in India right now, and they are making money. They are working with the IT company, they are working with the BPO, they are working with some another organization, and most of them are ready to invest a small amount into the startup. And still this trend, it's going to be upward every year.
So Himanshu, tell me, what is the maximum and the minimum amount an investor can invest in a startup listed on your website?
We are trying to change the definition of investor. Right now, what is an investor? You never think you are an investor. Everybody think investing with Ratan Tata, Ansal Brothers, Bansal Brothers. Right now, there is a very big difference between the investor. We are trying to change the definition. So everyone is an investor from my point of view, from my company.
With funding being one of the core challenges faced by the startups today, Angle Paisa, through its platform, aims to make these bright sparks leaders of tomorrow.
That's all the time we have on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. You can write to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com, reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT, or call us on the number which is on your screen. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.